The Level Up Leadership podcast is hosted by Mia Shecker and Joe Green. Join them as they discuss topics such as mentoring, networking, well-being in the workplace, and much more. Remember, transcripts for every episode are available at experian.com/levelup. Enjoy the episode.
Hi, everyone. We are joined by Mariana Pinheiro, the CEO at Experian Spanish Latin. She's been with Experian for 9 years and is joining us from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Mariana, we are so excited to speak with you, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, Joe. I'm very happy to join you today.
So, could we start off by you telling us a little bit about your career journey to date?
Yes. So I'm Brazilian. I'm from Rio, actually. So I started my career in Rio, but I live in São Paulo for almost 25 years now. My 2 kids were born here. And I started my career in Rio in the payment industry. I've actually worked for the payment industry for more than 20 years, probably 22, something like that, 23. First, I worked for a very big credit card company, and then a merchant acquirer, and then I worked for Visa. So, for more than 20 years, I was in the credit card industry. So it was a big change for me, a big change coming to Experian. And it was like 9 years ago, as you said, when I joined Experian. Prior to that, in this other industry, I've done everything. I had like commercial roles, marketing roles, product roles. I would say that probably product and commercial was like most of my background. And then I joined Experian here in São Paulo, most of the time running the DA business, also marketing services for a while. And then in 2020, right when the pandemic started, that's when I moved to Spanish Latin. So, I still live in São Paulo, but I've been running Spanish Latin since 2020, 2 years and a half, more or less.
So you obviously mentioned the pandemic there. The pandemic obviously was quite a huge deal. It was, something that we all experienced, and we all had our challenges there. Tell us a bit about that time when you took on that huge role at a time that was, probably the most challenging thing that we're ever going to experience in our lives. What was that like?
Yeah, it was challenging, Joe. I had to get to know the team, right? People from different countries. So just like a small parenthesis about Spanish Latin. So we are in Colombia, we are in Chile, we are in Peru. We've just acquired the business in Panama. And we also have some people in Argentina and Mexico. So 6 countries, right? So I needed to get to know the team in different countries with the different languages. I didn't speak Spanish, to be honest with you guys, when I joined. So I had to learn that. And get to know the business, right? Also get to know the business, which I was not familiar with. So it was really challenging, but everyone, as you said, Joe, everyone was in different manners, from different perspectives and different situations. Everyone was dealing with challenges, right? So that's how I faced it. It's like one more challenge to deal with, and we've learned to work remotely, right? To be honest, quite frankly, I think everyone realized that it was more feasible than we could ever imagine it would be, right? So that's the way we did it. That's the way we got to know each other, like remotely from the video, speaking a little bit of English, a little bit of what we call Portuñol, mixed Spanish with Portuguese. That was like improving with the time. And it's funny because I mean, most of the people that I've got to know in person a year later, we were so much in contact from the video that I mean, we didn't even feel that we were seeing each other for the first time, right? Apart from the height, sometimes people that you thought was higher or shorter, but apart from that, I mean, we could feel that we knew each other. And I was fortunate to have like an amazing team, really an amazing team that was really kind to me, that really taught me everything. They were very open, they were very kind. So it worked very well, to be honest. I mean, it was challenging, but it was also, I mean, I was very grateful to be in that position.
There's a few things that you've said there that I'd kind of like pick apart a bit, but what was one of the things that you learned during that time over the last few years, particularly in the pandemic, that has kind of stuck with you during that time? Is there anything that you're doing now as a leader that you learned in those first couple of years during that pandemic?
I mean, Joe, I think maybe reinforce some of the learnings that I've had throughout my career. And I think that was like really reinforced during that period. One of them is to learn to work with different people, right? Different personalities, different types of people. And I think and hearing, right? Learning to hear what they have to say, and give space to everyone to contribute. And I think like when you were getting to know people for the first time and remotely, that's really important, right? That you find a way to connect with everyone, even with people that are very different from you. And also, I mean, I say that was like put into like a hot spot because it was not only a remote engagement, a remote getting to know each other, but also like with the cultural aspects of it, right? As I said, we're talking about 6 different countries. And even though everyone speaks Spanish, they're very different, and they are very different from myself also, right? So also being open and giving space and trying to understand people from their cultural perspectives, right, and their personalities, I think that makes a whole lot of difference. And from my side, trying to adapt as much as I could, right? Because when you are in a leadership position and you are new, I mean, that's something that you need to have in your mind, right? That you need, I mean, to be very cautious on the way you speak to people, the way you put even your opinion, right? Because you don't know exactly how culturally those relationships work. So I think that was a big learning from me, how to connect with each of the team members. And in that process, I would say another thing, which is like being really open to learn. And I think that's one of the richest things that when I look back, this almost 3 years, I mean, the amount of learning that I had, right? I mean, I learned to speak a new language. Let's start from that, right? I've learned a lot of new people from different countries, and I've learned from 6 different businesses. So, I mean, it's all experience, but each of those markets, each of those business, each of those team members have a different story, right? Have a different story and a different way of doing business, different products, different types of clients. So it was like a major opportunity for me to learn. And I mean, I would highlight that 2 things if I had to highlight. something. Yeah.
Mariana, you've certainly learned so much. Just, speaking a whole new language is such a big deal. Do you have any tips for people who are trying to develop themselves and learn in the workplace, of trying to gain a new skill, whether that's a new language or something a little bit more technical?
Yeah, I mean, this is not very easy to give a recite, but I think that learning is, for me, it's like something that you need to train yourself. It's kind of a mindset. So I think that's a great asset that any professional can have. I mean, the ability to learn, and ability to learn as fast as you can, right? And I think you need to train yourself to do that. And to train yourself, first of all, you need to be open, right? You need to learn to hear. You need to learn to make questions all the time, because people are willing to teach you, right? But you need to make the questions. So you need to be open. You need to make the questions. You need to really put yourself to, understand what you were dealing with. And you also need to, be able to deal with frustrations, right? Because, I felt dummy, I would say more than half of the time, right? So you need to be kind to yourself in a way that you are learning, right? So don't be afraid of ask the questions, study, right? So put yourself to the task. And I think that when you do that, as much as you do that, and it's a training process, you get better on it as you go, right? So that would be my tip. But there's not much mystery, right? It's a lot of effort. So I've been taking 3-hour Spanish classes every week since I joined, right? So there's no free lunch. If you want to get to learn something, you need to dedicate to that, right?
I started learning Spanish a couple of years ago, and I can hardly say anything. So you've really put me to shame, Mariana. I was only doing about 20 minutes.
I speak Portuguese. I also speak 2 languages already, right? Because we all speak English, and I think that all makes it a little bit easier. But it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, and it requires a lot of dedication. But it's feasible. Here I am. They say I speak very fluently. I'm not sure if they are being kind to me, but they tell me that I'm now fluent.
Okay, I'll get there one day, I'm sure. Your kind of openness to learn, has that always been a trait of yourself throughout your whole career journey? Would you attribute that to kind of where you are now, kind of always being quite inquisitive about different things, different people, different cultures?
I think so, though. Yeah, I think so. I've always liked to go deep and understand everything that I'm engaged and involved in. That's important for me. To understand what I'm dealing. I need to be honest with you that became much more challenging when I joined Experian, because we have like incredibly bright people, and we have incredibly complex products, right? The data and it's different in different places, and the size of the portfolios that we have. So I still learn every day, and there's a lot of things that I haven't learned yet, and that I feel very difficult to get to. But I've always been engaged to that. It interests me to really go deep and understand the businesses, understand the products. It's something that I like. And I think, yes, from my experience, I think as much as you put your effort that, it's kind of a training, and you're going to get better as you go, right?
Mariana, earlier in our conversation, you mentioned that you mainly worked very heavily in the payments industry, and then you experienced a change when you came to Experian. So what brought you to Experian in the first place?
Look, so I had been working for one company for a long time, almost 20 years, right? And then I left this company. I joined Visa, and I stayed there for 2.5 years, more or less. So it was like a big change for me, but it was still the same industry. So I had always had the willingness, the idea that I would like to get to know a different segment. But at the same time, I didn't want to move, I don't know, to consumer goods or something that was like totally different from everything that I have learned and what I have developed as skills and etc. So when this opportunity came, someone came to me and talked about the business and the opportunity, I could see many parallels, right? So it was service. It was mainly B2B at that time. And I was in the B2B side of the payment system my whole career. It was very much based on technology. It had a mix of large enterprises and small enterprises as clients, where I thought it was a place where I could use my network. So I was able to make many parallels, and it made a lot of sense to me, right? I said, okay, I think here I could learn something totally new, but at the same time, I think I have a lot to contribute. I mean, the skills that I have, I'll be able to use and add to the company. And I think that was like what really engaged me. Because to be honest with you, after being with a company for 20 years and then less than 3 years in the new company, I didn't think that I would stay that short period of time, right? I was not thinking of leaving, but it made a lot of sense to me. And I mean, and I've never regretted. I'm so happy here, and I met like incredible people, as I said, an incredible and challenging business from the intellectual perspective. So I mean, it couldn't have been a better decision for me, really.
That sounds good. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Mariana. Have you always wanted to be a leader? Is that something that's always been ingrained in you? Have you showed glimpses of that, as you know, in your childhood, at university, and in other roles? Is that something you've always wanted to do, or did you kind of just fall into that because you had those qualities?
I think so. I've my graduation. So when I went to school, no, I don't think I was thinking about it. I actually graduated in computer science. So it would have been like a very technical career if I had pursued that. But right from the beginning, I kind of started going to the like more product development and business side. And I've always enjoyed being with clients. I've always enjoyed negotiations. I've always enjoyed people. And I think I was like step by step also enjoying the role of being a leader, like teaching other people what I knew, helping people develop, giving them opportunity and working together to get to, objectives. I've always enjoyed that, and I think it kind of showed me that's something that I would like to be doing.
Do you have any tips for people who are trying to develop their own leadership style?
Yeah, I think it's somehow what we've talked about a little bit already, right? I think one thing that is very important is to learn to hear people and find ways to connect with people, develop a relationship with trust, where you can like really give very transparent and honest feedback, and people understand that you are doing that even when the message is not the best one. but that you can, I mean, people can understand that you are doing that for the best, right? And I think to be in that place, you need to develop a relationship of trust. And for me, it has always been like being there for them. That's how I like to I mean to engage with the teams, right? So being there when they need, being there if they need to, if they need some help, if so at the same time that you empower them and that you give space for them, that they can feel that you are there for them if they need help. And I think with that you can build this relationship of trust where you can like give honest and open and transparent feedback. And I think that's a two-way thing, right? Because it's not because you are in a leadership position that, I mean, you weren't there at that time, but you were not that, like, as a human being. What I say is like you will teach and you will learn, right? It's like a relationship where you give and you also take. So I think for me, it's my reside, right? And what was hard for me, and it's something I've learned throughout the years, is to really hear people and learn to deal with different types of personalities, right? I think when you, especially in the beginning of your career, when you're starting in leadership positions, there are two main things that I think we struggle with. One is to delegate, right? Let people do stuff the way they want to do stuff rather than doing yourself or wanting people to do it the way you would do it. So that's a big step for like when you were starting your leadership journey. And the other one is like to learn to deal with and to engage with and to work with different people, right? Different personalities, because we tend to get closer to people that are much more like us, right? And that's not the best. I mean, and nowadays it is so obvious, right? We talk so much about diversity. And it's so important to have diverse groups. And by diverse, I mean not only diversity mean like gender or anything else, it's also like personalities, ways of doing things, ways of thinking, right? And when you learn to work with different types of people and especially people that are very different from you, I think you are able to build like amazing groups that complement each other, right?
When you have so many different types of people within your part of the business, do you adapt your leadership style depending on who it is that you're interacting with? Is that something that
that's what I try to do, Joel. That's what I try to do, right? That's a little bit of what I'm saying when I mean when you, for you to like really engage with people and build this relationship of trust, you can be able, you need to be able to adapt, right? So there are some people, for example, I mean, I'm going to try to give examples. I'm someone that speaks a lot. I speak loudly. Sometimes I get angry with stuff and I'm very energetic. And with some people, that works perfectly, right? There are people that will engage with you and will also, and it's going to be a mess, but it will work out at the end of the conversation. Some other people, if you are like that, they will just, I mean, close themselves, right? And will not speak.
Yeah, completely right. How have you found working with, obviously, you know, working within kind of South America, but also the wider business as well? We're obviously a global organisation. You've already mentioned Craig, being in the UK, operates out of the US. How have you found working with those different regions? And has it have those different cultures, has it presented any challenges to you at all?
I think it's terrific, Joe. Yes, it's challenging, right? Imagine that for myself and many of us, I mean, we are engaging most of the time in English. It's not our native language, right? So it's really harder for us to express ourselves, right? Many times we end the meetings and we think, oh my god, that was not exactly that I wanted to say. I could have done this different. So it is an additional effort, but at the same time it is so rich, right? Because you have the opportunity to learn from so many different businesses, from so many different places, and there are always similarities. There's always, and that's something Experian, in my view, does very well. In every conversation that we are with someone, they always say, you know what? There is like that people in that place that is doing something really nice that I think fits really well with this challenge that you are describing. You should connect with them. And we do that a lot. And I think that's amazing, right? The opportunity that we have by working in a company, in a global company with so many different places of presence, the opportunity that we have of learning from all those people is amazing. And I think something that is very peculiar of Experian, it is that people are really willing to help and to collaborate and to work together. I think that's something very present in our culture, and that's amazing. Amazing. It's not like that everywhere.
You're definitely right, Mariana. Everyone here just is so warm and just so willing to help, and it's just been a great experience working here. We've touched a lot about, connecting with other people and developing your network and making sure that you have a diverse people within your close circles. Do you have any advice, especially for people early on in their career, how to build those networks, especially, it might be a little bit more difficult as we're all working remotely?
You need to be open, and you need to learn to work with different types of people, right? I mean, with those examples that I gave you, there are people that are more open. There are people that are, that are shy, and you are gonna, if you want their opinion, you're gonna need to, during a meeting, you're gonna need to ask like 4 times before they really say something, right? And there are other people where you're probably gonna need, okay, let's now give a pause and let the other members of the team contribute because they are willing to give their contribution. So I think it's kind of trying to balance and really understanding how each person feels more comfortable in collaborating and trying to give them space, right? If you talk, even if you bring that to the gender diversity that we have been talking so much about recently, I think that's also have to do with that. I mean, it's like understanding that women and men work differently, right? And just finding ways to give space to them both, right? So for me, especially, I mean, I've people ask me a lot about our diversity in the region, because we have a great number of women in our senior leadership group, and often people ask me, how do you guys do that in Spanish Latin? And it's not that we are doing something specific for them. It's just that we try to give everyone space and encourage everyone, right, to be at their best version, right? So it's kind of men and women and all types of personalities, trying as much as we can to give space to everyone.
Have you been mentored over your career, and are you still being mentored by anyone? And secondly, are you mentoring anyone within the organization, and how big a role does that play in your own perspective?
Joe, I think I could say that I've never done that in a very structured way. I mean, I've done that a few times, but when you say like, is that been a big part of your career? Not in a structured way, like mentoring programs with very organized sessions and things like that. No. But throughout my whole career, I've always had people that I go to. Oftenly, I have some people inside Experian. I have some people outside Experian. Jose Luis Rossi, for example, is one of them. I always go to him for advice. I mean, when I have something in my mind, and there are others, and outside the company, people that I've had, I've worked together in the past. So yes, I do that. I do that a lot. And at the same time, on the other way, right? I've done some structured programs where I was mentoring people. But more than that, I think what was more constant throughout my career is that I have those relationships with people. People come to me and I'm open for them, and I often reach out and ask if everything is fine, and I mean, so it's more informal, but yes, I really like it. To be honest, I like it both ways. I need it for myself, and I really enjoy it when I'm doing it for someone else.
Yeah, completely agree. I've never been part of a formal mentorship program, but love interacting with peers and colleagues and senior leadership to just get an insight into, you know, what I should be doing, where I should be going next.
Exactly. Yes.
One of the things that our listeners probably want to learn a bit more about is what does a day in the life look like for someone that's in your role? What types of things, you know, if they do decide to become managing directors, CEOs, what can they expect? What does a day look like for you, Mariana?
Well, I think it probably differs. I mean, it's different for different people. My routine is, I mean, my complete routine is one that I try to exercise at least 3 times a week, preferably 5. I normally do that before work. I could never do it after work. So I try to do it in the morning, and then I start my day, and I try to have like an organized cadence. I try to have like a discipline, because it's very easy to get lost in activities and in things that do not matter really, right? So you need to have, for myself, and especially because I'm a mom, I'm a woman, so I have a lot to deal with, and I've always wanted to be there for my kids also. So I need to be very productive. So I try to organize my routine with a lot of discipline, so I don't lose much time, right? And in work, it is a mix of team meetings, team moments where we can collaborate, where we can, I mean, have checkpoints and different things that are going on, where we can like take a look on the different businesses. It's a mix of those like group meetings about projects, about business performance, about product being developed. I mean, like group meetings with some one-on-one engagements. That's also something that in this remote engagement and getting to know the teams remotely, that's something that I learned for my routine with my group. It works well because we are distant, and I think that's when I can, I mean, really try to understand what's going on, on their minds, and look in the eyes, even though it's with the screen in the middle, but look in the eyes and have a more like private moment where we can try to also feel if everything is okay, if someone needs help, if there's, or even if there's some feedback that you want to give because something needs to be different. So it's kind of a mix of these two things, and I have it very in a very organized cadency. And I think with all that, also establishing objectives, goals, things that you want to accomplish, and measuring the progress against that is also something very helpful. One thing, to be honest, one thing that I miss a little bit in this role that I would like to be doing more, and I haven't had the chance to do, is being with clients. So I've been trying to be with clients as much as I can. And it's sometimes remotely. It's sometimes, I mean, I try to pack in some of the, now that we are traveling again. But that has been more challenging. I would have liked to have more time in my agenda dedicated to clients that I've been able to have. And I think that's a mix of a lot of stuff. It's like the pandemic and being remote. It's also because differently from when I was working here in Brazil, I have a huge network here, right, with clients, and that's not the same in the region. So there I'm getting to learn the clients, I'm getting to learn the team. So it's different, right? It's really, and there's the language also, right? So now I'm more fluent in Spanish, but it wouldn't make any sense for me to, I mean, in the beginning, to be with the clients and ask them to speak English, right? So I needed also to develop my Spanish skills to feel comfortable being with clients. And now I can do that. So that's something that I also want to add more in my agenda. And that normally is also, I think, an important part of successful leadership journey. Because, I mean, you will hear from clients things that you won't hear from anyone else in your team, and that's important.
And it's very cool that you have, goals for yourself of things that you want to incorporate more into your role. And that's so important. Earlier you mentioned that you always want to exercise, 3 to 5 times a week. And, taking care of your physical health is so important. And it does wonders also for taking care of your mental health. And so I was curious, do you have any other ways that you prioritize your mental health, especially, when things can get kind of crazy?
What I've always tried to do, Mia, and that became a little bit more challenging during the pandemic. I've always tried to have a switch in my mind, right? I mean, especially because it's now that my kids are a little bigger, but I've had kids, right? And I always wanted to be there. I've never been able to be there for them in extensive times, right? So my time with them was always limited because I've always worked, and I've always worked long hours. So I've always wanted to, I mean, have the famous quality time with them. So when I am with them, I want to be with them. So something that I've always helped me a lot was trying to, as much as possible, have the switch, right? So I come to work and I try to switch to work and forget. I mean, and that's also important, that you have like a network of support that can allow you to make the switch. So I've always tried to make the switch and be 100% at work. And when I go home over the weekends and at night, I've always tried to, I mean, switch to the other side and be 100% with them. And that, I think that has been very helpful. Of course, there are times when things mix, right? When we're dealing with something very challenging in one area or the other. But as a routine, I think making that switch was always important. And that's something that we needed to relearn, right? To the pandemic, because we started to work at home. We had like that, I had like that very, very specific moment at the day when I left home, right? So in the morning, I was 100% kids, school, breakfast, everything, blah, blah, blah. And then, okay, switch. And then now in my way to work, I start thinking of work and etc. and blah, blah, blah. And that things kind of got a little bit mixed because you were at home. So it was important to, separate a space and that people know that you were at home, but you were really working, even with the kids, right? Because kids was used to connect you being home with you being available, right? So now I'm home, but I'm not available, right? And so we needed to relearn that. But I think that trying as much as possible to have like that clear separation is something important in both sides, right? It's not only like being working all the time. It's also, things that you need to deal with at home. That it's also nice when you can like switch a little bit to the other side. And I think that helps me with that balance.
Yeah, it's definitely something a lot of people have struggled with, to have that, because we're so connected all the time, and being able to switch off just like that has become increasingly difficult. Go back to the office now a little bit more, which does help, but when you're working from the same place, it can be quite difficult. Throughout this whole interview, Marianne, you have seemed so passionate, so excited about the work that you're doing at the moment in your role. And I want to kind of get a sense, what are the things that excite you the most about your current role? Like, what gets you out of bed in the morning? You're kind of thinking, yes, I want to do that. I'm so excited about getting involved in that.
I think it's this diverse business, right? And also everything that I have been able to learn. It's a new position for me. Is the first time that I'm like running not only a business but running like companies, right? So with everything from HR and IT and finance and everything. So that has been like a really learning process for me that added a lot to myself and my development. But more than that, to be able to work with so many different people from different places with different businesses, it has been amazing. And honestly, that's I say that from the bottom of my heart. I've met like incredible people. It is an incredible team, and I've met so many incredible people in this new role, and working with them and seeing them develop themselves and seeing them go after the results and delivering the result.
Let's talk a little bit about kind of what the future holds. What are your goals going forward, both personally and from an Experian perspective? What is it that you want to achieve in the next few years that's kind of really driving you at the moment?
Joe, I think, for me, the objectives are what we have been discussing here, right? I like to develop people. I like to learn. I really like to set objectives and deliver against those objectives. So I like to think of my future as more and more getting prepared to additional and new challenges, and being able to deliver on those challenges. So it's kind of this learning journey where you try to prepare yourself for additional and different responsibilities, and then you set the objective, you get there, and you deliver the results. I mean, that's what brings me pleasure. It's not like something specific, right, that I want to that I think of. I want that position. No, I think I want to keep learning and keep developing myself and keep it feeling challenged and I mean, if I can deliver on those challenges, right, and overcome those challenges. And more on a personal side, I think it's like it's my family, right, and especially to see my kids grow and my kids succeed and my kids fulfill their dreams. I think that's there's nothing more powerful than that for anyone that is like a parent.
Do you think your children will follow a similar career path to you? Do you reckon they might be future leaders?
I don't know. I mean, I have one. I have my older. I have a girl and a boy. A girl that is 18 and a boy that is 14. I think for the boy it's a little bit early yet. But my daughter has just gone to the university. She actually moved to the U.S. I'm kind of suffering still a little bit with that because it's like been months. She's actually coming back home next week, so we're very anxious to get her here. And she actually wants to be an investment banker. That's what she wants right now. Yeah. So she's studying business, economics, finance, and she will probably follow a more corporate career. That's what I think. Who knows, right? I mean, who knows where life takes us? But that's what she's willing to do right now. And the other one is too young. He doesn't have a clue of what he wants to do yet. I mean, every morning he wakes up and he thinks about different things. Now he says he wants to be a lawyer, but that's like the most recent thing in his mind. I know it will certainly change.
Well, big congratulations to your daughter for starting this new chapter. It must be so exciting for her.
It is. She's very happy, but she's very overwhelmed at the same time. It's a big change, right? Very young, leaving home. And I mean, and for us, this is a big deal. I know in the U.S. that's very common, right? You're 18, you're good to go, bye-bye. Take care of yourself, but here, I mean, kids go to school and they stay at home while they are at university. They stay at home. They go to the school in the morning. They come home in the afternoon, and they stay with parents normally until they get married, or you need to kick them out at 30. They stay. They just stay, right? So for us to see our kids go at the age of 18, it's really tough. But I'm happy for her. She's so happy. She is so sure that that's what she wants for her.
You know, I'm sure she'll be doing fantastic things over the next course in the U.S. So
yes, and the poor boy that is here with me. I mean, he needs to take all the hugs and all the kisses.
I'm sure he'll look back. I'm sure he misses his sister, but he'll look back and he'll be happy for these memories.
And the remote, right? This digital world and the ability to see ourselves over the screen. I mean, we've talked a lot about it in the work environment. But it's the same, right? I talk to her. I see her every day. That makes it incredibly easier. I can imagine parents like 10 years ago when kids would go, and it was really hard, right? To talk to them and to see them. So that helps. That also helps a lot.
Incredible. We're coming up to the top of the hour with our chat.
Thank you so much for the conversation today. It was so fun to get to know you and get to speak with you. So again, just thank you so much.
No, thank you guys. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, it's been a great one. Thank you, Mariana.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
This has been the Level Up Leadership Podcast with Mia Shecker and Joe Green. If you enjoyed the insights from this episode, please consider leaving us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on social media and use the hashtag LevelUpPodcast. See you next time.